In this week's Signal Emitted, Godot 4.5 got released and it's a virus, how the documentation is made, and of course there's our Creator Spotlight, Game of the Week, Add-on of the Week and Tip of the Week. Welcome to Signal Emitted, your weekly news video for Godot related news. I'm Voylin and the wait is finally over. Godot version 4.5 finally got released with a total of 2,462 commits. Now, this is a lot less compared to the 4.3 update, which was a massive update, but still, that's also still quite a high number. So let's see what this 4.5 release all contains, because there are quite a lot of very nice to have features in the engine. First of all, before migrating your project, you might want to check out the migration guide. Normally there should not be too many breaking changes, but you never know. You can check out all the things that can break in this migration guide. But anyway, let's go over to some of the highlights. So first of all, stencil buffer support. There have been a ton of videos coming out recently about using this. It is great. It's a very nice feature to have and I cannot wait to use it in my own projects. But this is just one of the parts. Accessibility by screen reader support also got implemented. Script backtracing and custom logger support, which is something that I personally really like. But the feature that I probably like the most is internationalization live preview. Now this is so great. I localize all my projects and being able to localize projects directly inside of Godot, this will really help a lot with saving time. So basically what it allows you to do is inside of the editor, you can switch out the language and it will translate things live, which is great. You don't need to play every single level or go to every single menu to be able to see in-game how the translation looks. And yeah, there is a lot more, like a mute game toggle, which is also kind of helpful. A script color picker, I know a lot of people do use the built-in Godot's GG script editor. So this is also a very nice thing to have. DPI aware icons like this makes a big difference. You can now also stack label effects, which is a very nice thing to have, and this is also something that I will personally be able to use inside of my video editor. For the Linux people, there's now also native Voylin sub-window support, which is a great thing. For Windows builds, you no longer require RC edits for the metadata. In the previous episode of Signal Emitted, I also mentioned this a free performance boost for web builds, which was also kind of a very big deal. And so much more. Really go through the list and see if you can find anything that you will personally be able to use inside of your projects. I personally am looking forward to using the abstract classes as well. But there is a lot, and thanks to all of these people to making this update possible. I should be in this list as well, but it's a very minor update, like a thing that I did, so I don't really deserve to be in this list, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, take a look in this list, use 4.5, create GitHub issues if you find bugs, because there have been some issues mentioned already. I personally have not really ran into any issues, but I also only make software at this moment. And I quickly want to thank all my KoFi supporters for making these videos possible, the Signal Emitted series, the other videos that I make, and for making the development of GoZen, my video editor made with Godot, possible. Thank you very, very much. Couldn't do it without you guys. And then next up for this week's Creator Spotlight, I present to you Mina Pecheux? I hope I pronounced that correctly. But Mina Pecheux is a French solo dev and content creator who makes game dev tutorials about Godot and sometimes Blender. Now this channel has a large amount of content to enjoy and to learn from, so I would really recommend you to check out this channel and to subscribe if you want to see more of her videos. This creator is in the last stages of publishing a game, by the way, called Lightem, which is made in Godot and it will become available quite soon. So yeah, both links are in the description below to check out. And then next up, some worrying news? Or maybe not. Basically, Windows Defender is giving false malware reports, like alerts, when you try to open the new Godot 4.5 release. This is a Windows only issue, but yeah, don't worry too much about this, as it basically just turns out that Microsoft is just being slow. Godot recently has a new certificate to register itself for Windows computers, and it just takes a little bit of time for Windows to catch up and to actually recognize that new certificate. There's not much the Godot team can do about it. It's just a matter of waiting and hoping that Windows recognizes it quickly, and hopefully that gets resolved quite soon. And then next up, let's take a look at the Godot Foundation website on the team page. Basically, this is a small little update. Right now, if you go to the team page, you can see everybody who works on the team and what their roles are in the team, also the board of directors. To be honest, from all these people on the list, I only recognize Hugo, who goes by the name Kalinu on GitHub, and Emmy. And those are basically the only people I actually know. But it's nice to have more of a clear idea of who's what and who actually works on the Godot Foundation team themselves. This is something that got mentioned in the Godot Tomorrow live stream, and I thought it was worth mentioning here as well. And then for some further news, Godot released an article explaining how the documentation gets made. So yeah, let's have a look at that. So ensuring quality in the Godot documentation, a continuous process. Now this article is by Hugo, and he talks a little bit about how the organization of the documentation stuff actually works. So there are, since this month, two basically repositories for the documentation. So we have the normal documentation, the Godot docs that everybody knows and loves, and this is hosted by Read the Docs using a static site generator called Sphinx. Now this article is a nice read if you're very interested in this kind of stuff, but basically they talk a little bit about the extra stuff they added to the whole site generator, by example the dark theme stuff and the DD script syntax highlighting. But yes, there's a little bit of everything going on in here, so there's also a little bit of talking about the internationalizing of the documentation, which is using a webplate. So webplate is kind of like a service that you can use to translate your software or games, and basically can allow other people to contribute to the translation stuff. A lot of work has gone into the whole localization of the Godot engine and the site and such. But yeah, help is still needed, so check it out and see if your language is already fully supported or not. And then I told you there are two documentation sites because the contributing page did get its own website. So if you click on this, you can see that the guidelines for contributing to the Godot project, it has its own page right now, its own website. So if you're interested in, well, contributing to Godot, give this a read because you really need to follow the guidelines if you want to contribute to a project as big as Godot. Also, the Godot documentation still needs help. It's still not 100% complete. If you go into the Godot class reference status page here, you can see which functions are complete, which ones are not complete yet, because some things are not 100% complete yet and other parts are even 0, like the audio stream playback OGG voice. The brief description is missing and the normal description is also missing. It's like 97% complete. Yeah, 97% overall complete for all the documentation stuff. There's also some information on the user note system that people can put comments on the different pages of the documentation, because sometimes it is helpful to see how other people are using certain things. I personally have found some help in the user contribute notes when the documentation wasn't good enough. And for the people who joined the Godot Wild Jam, the edition 85, only have about 2 days left, so don't forget to submit your projects on time if you are joining this monthly game jam. This week's theme is expansion with the following wildcards. As usual, the winner will be featured during one of the next episodes of Signal Emitted. And then before we go to Game of the Week, let's have a look at a Reddit post by Tony Macaroni. Okay. As he has been working on a realistic looking forest environment. This is yet another very good example of how powerful Godot can be with the correct artist, with the correct people working on it. This is how Godot projects could look like. So please make games like this. And then let's go to Game of the Week. No fancy graphics, but yeah, for this week it's not even like a game, or maybe it could be considered as a game. Tiny Passion is a game in which you get desktop pets on your screen. Watch them walk around and enjoy their life whilst you're working or studying. You can unlock new pets, interact with your pets, create new pets by letting them mate, and keep them clean and happy. You can also place their pasture anywhere you'd like on your screen. If you're into cozy games and you do a lot of work and studying on your PC, maybe give this a try, but don't let it distract you from your studying and work too much. It could be a nice addition to have a more cozy setup whilst working and studying, so yeah, check it out with the link in the description. And then let's add some add-ons. And for this week's add-on, I actually have kind of a great add-on, Phantom Camera. And although this page may not look like much, the moment that you go to the actual website, we have a whole different impression. It got featured by Games from Scratch and also Devworm, a previous person, content creator that I showed on Signal Emitted. And it's actually quite nice if you look at the feature overview. Like, this can do quite a lot more than you might expect. First of all, this is framed follow. There's then also over here the group follow, so both players stay in frame. It has a lot of very nice features. 3D path follow the moment that you go from 3D to a more top-down view. This is quite, like, this camera add-on has quite a lot going for it. So I would really recommend you to check this out if you want a better camera controller. Yes, you could technically create those things by yourself, but having this add-on, it's a plug and play thing. You can directly have correct camera functionality without having to struggle. So yeah, check out Phantom Camera. It's quite great. There's a lot of documentation as well. It's available on GitHub as well because it's open source under the MIT license. So yeah, give it a go. There will be a link in the description. And then last part of this week's Signal Emitted is the tip of the week. And I present to you a function which I made and got merged into the Godot game engine. Print rich. So print rich is a very simple thing. Basically, it allows you to use BB code inside of the output window. So if I run this and I start pressing this button, you can see we have bold text, italic text, underline text, and also different colors. We can also have links. If we press this one, by example, we go to my KoFi page. Please support me, by the way. But yeah, anyway, like even rainbow, everything that you can do in BB codes, which is kind of a lot because like we have bold text, italic, underline, strike through, code, center, right, fill, indent, URL ref. Like, there is a lot of stuff that you can do. This can be helpful if you make your own log system for inside of the editor whilst you're working, and for other developers that are working on your project that you can share links to documentation pages, by example. But another great thing, and that is then for like exported projects, is that it also prints inside of the terminal. So if people run your project through the terminal, they can you can use bold, you can use colors. URLs don't work, but a lot of terminals do allow link clicking inside of here. Yeah, rainbow effect, of course, that's not going to be possible because that's custom to Godot. But yeah, you can make things more easy to use for your both developers that work on your team, for yourself, and for people wanting to debug your game. So this is a small example, but to have more of an example of how it actually is being used by me personally, I can open my own project, GoZen, my video editor that I'm trying to make in Godot. If I run this, by example, you will see that there is a certain amount of information here that gets printed. I basically use bolts and purple for displaying all the information in a more easy to read style instead of everything in white, gray. Try it out in your own projects if you want to. Again, this is something that I got contributed to Godot itself, to the editor itself. So yeah. And that's it for this week's episode. I'm terribly sorry about last week. My health was not up to standard and I could basically not really move. I was stuck in the sofa. Luckily, my arm is doing better. My leg is almost doing better. The medicine are working. They do give me anxiety, but I'm back to work. So yeah. Anyway, a big thank you to all my KoFi supporters for supporting me through, basically being sick the whole time and my recovering process. But also, yeah, thank you very much to my KoFi supporters for making these videos possible and to make the development of GoZen possible. My video editor is almost getting into beta. It will take some time before I'm 100% better and I'm able to really pump out the features that are still needed for the beta release of GoZen. I'm going to take it easy. I need to think about my health first. But yeah, GoZen is coming hopefully by the end of this year. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. And if you want to see more of these type of videos, the whole Signal Emitted Godot weekly news videos, subscribe because they are weekly. And yeah, they're weekly. So I'll see you next week. Bye bye.